Yes.
Do you have any pre-thoughts on how you're going to address the $51 million to $80 million?
Absolutely. We have to find ways to stretch the dollar as long as we can. Now, I truly believe that part of the reason of the deficit is we have service that we provide. I think that a problem is that the county has underestimated revenue and overestimated expenses. So tough decisions have to be made. But I think like anything else in life, and I said earlier, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. I don't think the work ethic's been put in, and I think things have been taken for granted. Too many times public officials will say, it's not my money, we'll just raise taxes. That's not the answer. And your home, I'm sure you balance your budget. I balance my budget at my house, and I have a small business. I'm my own law firm. It's me and I have one associate. So not only do I have to be an attorney, I have to be a business person. You can't have an open check. I balance my budget, you balance your budget. And I believe the county's done a poor job balancing the budget. So that's how it's gotten out of, spiraled out of control. So many steps have to be made. But I think those solutions will come from, like I said, rolling your sleeves up, getting your hands dirty, putting in the work ethic, putting in the time. So I think that's good. Doing that, we'll find solutions so we can chip away at that budget.
Well, if I can, the question was, do you have any specific targets? Is there anything that you have looked at that says, I think there are savings or cost reductions that can be made somewhere within that budget?
Sure. I mean, one thing is with the sheriff's office, the transporting of the prisoners. I think that might be something we can look at, the amount of money they're paying out to do transportation of prisoners. I think that's one thing. The hospital is another big issue. I think we have to find ways to make it more efficient. I believe that's lost a lot of money. They're proposing probably selling it. We'll see if they try to do that. Those are two things right there. I think the hospital's a big issue. And I also think public, I think, county employee salaries, more maybe on the public scale. Maybe we can propose a pay cut of our own salaries. Remember something, when you go into public office, you go in there to help people, and they always would say that, you get the health benefits, but it's not supposed to be about the salaries. And if you see nowadays, I believe not only the health benefits, but the salaries have gotten out of hand as well. So I would propose even maybe lowering, if I was to be elected, lowering my salary. If I can help out my constituents, I'm happy to do that. If we can find solutions, we can chip away at it. And it's going to take a large scale and a lot of time and a lot of hard work.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
From what I understand, when you're in an elected position, you cannot take a lower salary. If you're appointed, they can lower your salary. Would you be willing to, number one, go for term limits, and number two, not take benefits as a legislator if you are elected to the legislative body?
That's a great question. Let's talk about the term limits first. The term limits are a very interesting issue. I think it's great that people are talking about it. It's something that people are rallying around to talk about. Too often, we see elected officials want to put forward their position. And that's not where I stand. My objective is to put forth your agenda. Because I'm supposed to be like an attorney. I'm an advocate for my clients. I'm supposed to be an advocate and a representative for the constituents. So with term limits, if you have 100 people in the room and 51 people want the term limits, then we'll put them in. And if 49 people want it, we won't put it in. Let the body of the government, of the people, decide. It shouldn't be what I want or my opponent wants. It should be what you want. So if the majority wants it, that's fine. That's the democratic way. With respect to the salary, there may be a way where we can enact a local law that we may be able to put a provision in to lower the salary. So maybe there are ways. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm just saying that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to look at cost-cutting measures, cost-effective cuts to try to curb that budget and mitigate the budget. Because right now it's a major deficit, 51 million, maybe going higher. I don't think they're going to sell the hospital. I'm sure all you know about that. They proposed selling it to a PBC, private benefit corp, for 18 million. They didn't do any consulting work. That was Scott Vanderhoff. That was his idea to try to close the budget gap. That proposal right now, I think it was a bad proposal because they didn't really do the due diligence to that.
Do we have any other questions for the candidate?
Yes, sir.
One of the big things that's important to me is to see how you cut waste, all right? More than just cutting jobs. Because I see the town cutting a lot of jobs. In the meantime, the state is telling us that they're going to cut jobs also. Cutting jobs isn't the answer, but there's a lot of fat in there. Do you want to consider being a little bit more transparent in people knowing what's in the budget?
That's a great question, absolutely. You'll see as part of my platform is that, too often, the legislature, they meet at 9 o'clock 8 o'clock on Tuesday nights, every other Tuesday. The attendance is poor, nobody goes. Well, that's great, but the attendance is not, as you know, it's poor.
It's 7 o'clock.
It's 7, well, that's fine, but they have the committee meetings before 5:30. But either way, the meetings are poorly attended, I think you know that. People don't, exactly, nobody wants to go, but, I understand, people have lives, they have children, they have jobs, they have things they have to be at. I'm proposing having, quarterly type hall town meetings on a Saturday morning at the library or civic center where we can sit down and talk about issues, where you can tell me what your concerns are and I can tell you what's going on at the legislature. Because how can I truly represent you if I'm not constantly talking to you? And I meet many people and they say, oh, you're the typical politician, am I just going to see you every 4 years? And I say, no, you'll be seeing me every quarter, so I'll be having these meetings. So I think that, that idea of trimming fat, that's a great idea. That's something we have to look at. But you get those ideas from the constituents. So, being transparent, part of that is having, more public access to the government. And you'll have that through these, quarterly type hall town meetings that I'm going to offer.
But you don't see that in the town. I'll tell you, our town, we don't see it. Nobody wants to talk. You're going to have thousands of veterans that are going to be coming home soon. There's no jobs here either. All right? So I don't know where the jobs are going to come from. And all we talk about is cutting jobs. And even the president is talking about hire. How can one say cut and the other one says hire? It's very confusing.
Well, that's, and that's, what you're saying with the town, maybe not enough transparency, not enough public access to the inner workings of government.
Yeah, there's not.
Well, that's another reason why I'm running. I've been fed up with the way things have run, and I'm raising my family here. It's very expensive to live in the county, as you know, and we need change. And it's time for change, and I'm prepared to bring that. Thank you.